That's what it is to do. The United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Where?
Present.
Councilmember Joshua Kaufman,
Here.
Councilmember James Blair,
Here.
Councilmember Molly Smith, here. Councilmember Brian Hess,
Here.
Councilmember Lynn Roy,
Here.
Councilmember Terry Hughes,
Here.
Mayor Littleton.
Here.
So do we have Harley Hogan? Harley is joining us on Zoom.
Hello. You're from South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity. All right. Let me share the screen here. Okay, can you all see this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So thank you. My name is Carly Colgan. I'm the CEO at South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all this evening and just present a bit about our neighborhood revitalization program. At Habitat for Humanity, our vision is a world where everyone has a decent place to live. And our mission is to bring people together to build homes, communities, and hope. We've been changing lives in Thurston County since 1989. And are excited to continue to strengthen our presence in the Yelm community. I imagine that you're all familiar with the Yelm Habitat store. It's a discount home improvement retail and donation center open to the public that sells new and gently used donated goods. This store helps to fund the construction and repair of homes in Thurston County. In 2020, our organization started a critical home repair program which keeps low and moderate income homeowners in their homes by fixing major issues that could make their homes uninhabitable. Projects in Yelm have included full roof replacements, fixing shower and bathroom issues, as well as replacing hot water heaters. In our repair pipeline is a Yelm project that includes accessibility modifications for a disabled veteran. We're also excited to be bringing an affordable housing development to the community. We purchased 2.3 acres in the heart of Yelm and are in the planning phases of a development. Our vision is 17 to 22 houses, a combination of 3 and 4 bedroom townhouses, and 2-bedroom age-in-place bungalows. All of the homes are designed with efficiency in mind, both energy efficiency and square footage. So we're looking forward to that project moving forward. Our budget request to the council this evening is for $19,000 to help cover staffing costs for our neighborhood revitalization program. Earlier this year, our neighborhood revitalization program identified Yelm as the next community to engage with. When we think about neighborhood revitalization, residents of a community know their hopes and dreams for their neighborhoods, safe streets with decent and affordable homes, a place to buy fresh fruits and vegetables, and a park for kids to play, and a school where students thrive. Through our neighborhood revitalization work, we tailor our efforts by partnering locally with residents, community leaders, and organizations to best address real concerns and improve the lives of the people who live in the neighborhood. With residents leading revitalization efforts, our work looks different in every community. Better public transportation in one, a youth center in another, home repairs and community gardens in yet another. While it's difficult to quantify how many residents this work will impact at this point in time, I can tell you that in just a few short months, our neighborhood revitalization manager has been to 180 Yelm homes and interviewed 35 residents on their sense of community. We currently have committed grant funding for this program. We have $30,000 in commitments from Habitat for Humanity International. We also have a commitment from Thurston County CDBG funds for 2022 for $15,000. So any amount of funds up to the 19,000 that we requested would allow us to shift internal resources to serve more people, specifically in our critical home repair program. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk with you, and I'm happy to connect offline with anybody who would like to, and would welcome questions.
Carly, are you funded by any other cities?
No, so we are funded through the CDBG for the South County. But currently our neighborhood revitalization program is working in the town of Bucota. So they have not funded any work there, but are an active partner in the coalition there.
Just a point, the community development block grant is Thurston County who runs that, operates that, national federal funds that they distribute. So it's kind of local community money.
I was more wondering, like, if Lacey's city budget
Yeah.
has, funds that they distribute just to them. Can I ask one more question? Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
Thank you. Carly, what happens if it's not funded?
It goes on. We've committed internal funds for it, but what it does is we have a wait list of critical home repair projects. So it takes money away from that program. So a critical home repair project on average is about $8,000. So for every $8,000 we can save, we can help another person on our wait list. So it just allows us to serve more folks in the community.
Thank you.
Did you say that the money was for staff? And if so, how many people?
Yeah, so it is one neighborhood revitalization program manager runs the program, and that is essentially the budget for that program. Everything else is in-kind donations and work within the coalitions to make things happen. So when we look at a neighborhood revitalization budget, that staff cost is essentially the only cost.
But is that his pay? Is the 19,000 for him, his pay?
Yeah, so it would go towards his salary, yes.
It's I don't think it's the whole salary, it's a portion.
Yes, a portion of it.
Right.
In reference to the 19,000 that you're asking for, that is for the revitalization project within Yelm itself, correct? My understanding.
Yes, so that program has been focusing in Bucota, and about in the spring, we identified Yelm as the next community. So he has started to have conversations in the community and has spent some time working with the community. So I wouldn't venture to say 50-50 in terms of his time between Bucota and Yelm, but there will be more time in Yelm over the next year, just because it's like the asset mapping time where you're going to neighborhoods, talking to people, making those connections, getting the relationships built, doing the interviews. So there would probably be more time spent in Yelm than in Bucota at this point, because that community has a coalition. They have a mission statement and have kind of a little bit more things going on there that is infrastructure wise.
So I'm pretty familiar with what Habitat does. I remember when I was younger, I seen a big project down in Lakewood near, I think American Lake. What exactly are you guys planning on doing in Yelm?
So
Specific.
Yeah, so we purchased 2.3 acres. It's 407 Longmire. So it's a corner lot that you're more than welcome to drive by, 407 Longmire. And we're in the planning phases right now. It's going to be a combination of townhouses and single family age in place cottages for seniors. So, we're hopefully within a year of being able to break ground on the infrastructure work. We have, at this point, we have grant funding from Thurston County, from the state of Washington, from Habitat International. We've probably got $2 million committed to that project at this point. But we will be able to bring at we're working on exactly how many. It'll be 17 to 22 houses.
Okay, I appreciate it. And then Lynn pointed out that I totally just missed that. So.
Yeah, Carly, so from my understanding, when you guys have the project, what you're doing is you're actually creating homes that individuals can actually own, right? Make payments, own, invest, because everybody has $500,000 to buy a home right now, right? Not really. Well, that's why I was trying to ask that question, but that's just my understanding. I don't know if it's Josh who I talked with. I don't know if that's the same guy, but I think his name's Josh. Jonathan, messed it up. Sorry, forgive me, Jonathan. But anyways, that to me is exciting, especially to give the opportunity for folks who can't afford to buy a home to actually have that chance. And then, but I know that there's some stipulations and you got to help build, you got to put some hours in. You can't just wham, bam, here you go. But no, I understand where you guys are coming from. I don't know if people knew that that's what some of the things that Habitat does. So that's why I wanted to mention that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all affordable home ownership, and it's a pathway to home ownership. So, we know that we work with folks that are 30 to 80% of what's called the area median income. So that's like saying a family of 3 that makes $50,000 is going to qualify for a Habitat house. And so they can typically go to a local bank and get a mortgage, but their mortgage is going to be for $200,000. And there's not going to be any houses in the community that they can buy for $200,000. And so, we're able to use volunteer labor, in-kind donations and sponsorships to keep the cost of the houses down, and be able to put, hardworking families into homes in the communities that they live in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jeannie James from the Senior Center. I think she gave a handout.
Yeah, I thought I would give a handout because I forget to say something. But a little bit about us. We're a senior center located in Young, and we serve mostly seniors 50 and up. We've been there, or it's been a corporation since '73, and we have no paid staff whatsoever. Everybody that volunteers to do the classes, me as the executive director, the cleaning, the lawn, the yard work is all volunteer. So no money that comes into the center goes to pay anyone. And we usually, with the 12,000 we've been getting from the city, we usually bring in around 50,000 a year. And it's costs us $3,200 to $3,500 just to monthly to keep the doors open. It's with the mortgage and the utilities and everything else that comes up. And we have programs specifically for, there are places in the community that seniors can go and do the things that we offer, but we're a one-stop shop, so to speak. And a gym membership is very expensive, but for our $50 membership fee a year, they have yoga, exercise classes. We've had line dancing. We recently added a second line dancing class. If you're not a senior and you want to come, it's just $5 and it's a lot of fun. We're starting to do a Tai Chi class beginning on Tuesdays because it really helps with balance. And I've noticed since I've been trying line dancing, I have an issue with balance that I didn't know existed. We have opened as a cooling center. This is our second year. So when it gets to be about 90 or 95, then we stay open till 8 if nobody has any place to go. Not that many people show up, but it is available if it's needed. We have a lending library. Our members can borrow books, keep them if they can't live without it. And we have a third Tuesday talk monthly. It's open to the public. And I put we had Joe there in January. It was nice to have him there and hear his visions for, we've had a couple authors there. And We hold an annual CPR class, which is also open to the public. And Senior Services for South Sound utilizes our kitchen. They make Meals on Wheels for Yankton. I know Rainier and Rochester, they also serve congregate meals, which are a suggested donation of $4 to $8. But if you do not have to be a center member to take advantage of that program, and if you can't afford to eat, you still can have your lunch. So I think that's probably hit most of the points. Does anybody have any questions?
Did you say 50 years old?
50 and up.
Yeah, I'm getting way too close to that.
You guys still have used to have the vans
We do not
anymore.
We don't have transportation, and there are several reasons for that. Number one, it's a volunteer driver position, and I'd exhausted all of my friends. And then the vans that we have are fairly old, and it was nonstop repairs on them, and every time we fixed one, we had to fix something else. And the insurance on just the vehicles alone was $7,000 a year. And that's a lot of money because we're transporting people. So we haven't had transportation, but we do. I pick up one of our members 2 times a week because she wants to come and play pinochle. We have a guy that drives out to Clearwood and picks up another one of our members that used to come in. And then there's another lady that literally has walked from Rainier to get there, or her granddaughter drops her off in the morning and she has to hang around town till noon. But we recently had another member that's volunteered to pick her up and bring her, make sure she gets home.
So the nonprofit owns the building then?
The members own the building, correct? It's member run. We recently elected a new member board, and I think that we're only going up from here. A lot of dedicated people that are there that want to be involved and make it better.
Any other questions?
12,000 that you're requesting?
Well, the city has been giving us $1,000 a month for, there's a contract down there, but I can't remember when it started. Since I've been volunteering there, we've got $1,000 a month from the city.
So yes, the request is for 12,000.
Could we request more? Gosh. I didn't want to be greedy, but gosh, no. No, we really appreciate the support from the city, and I don't know where we would have been past without it. So,
If you didn't get this money, how devastating would it be for the senior center?
it would be really, really difficult. Because what we have coming in a month, we have a church that rents for 500 senior services for South Sound, pays us $850 for the commercial kitchen. And that's the extent of what's guaranteed to come in every month. And then the membership due is $50. It usually comes in at the beginning of the year. So it's almost like a lump sum, and then it's gone, it's gone. It trickles in throughout the years, and new people join.
Can anybody rent it? You know what I mean? Like if somebody wanted to have an event, have a party or something, is that?
Right, we rent it to anybody.
Okay.
And then we give our members a deal if they want to use it.
Is there, as far as the 12,000 every year has been sufficient, is there a need for more? Is there?
Oh, we could always use more, trust me.
Okay. I just want to know, because I think it's very wise that we always take care of our seniors in our community. I'm not just saying that because I'm a liaison, I'm not. I think it's very wise to make sure there's a place for seniors to meet, and it's healthy for them to have a healthier lifestyle and longevity because they continue to meet and get together. So hopefully if there isn't an availability to do something like that, hopefully we could, but I don't know. I'm just asking if there is. All right, and the breakfast is this Saturday?
Correct. Fundraising breakfast, $8, great food, lots of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And here.
Hello, what's better? Right in front of the candy.
No.
No. Okay, shut up.
See, now, you guys, me, I told you it was not.
Joe, for this 19,000, how do we decide that, or do we talk about it
So,
all the time? Or how do we-
yeah, so all the departments right now submitted, they've submitted requests for budget requests. Myself included, still with city administrator, you know, each have our proposals on that, our needs and wants, and we're combining that right now. I'm gonna just, I'm gonna suggest that in my budget, yes, we will fund that program at 12,000. I'm not being.
I think it's done.
I mean, the other one.
Which.
I'm talking about.
No, so the senior center, I think it's important to continue that.
Yes.
It's council decision when we get to there, whether they want to more or less. Or whatever.
You're talking about habitat?
I'm talking about the habitat.
Senior, oh, you're talking about.
Habitat.
I thought it's senior, okay. It will be funded, at what amount? In my budget, I think it's gonna be a little lower than the 19,000. But that's also council discretion, you want to up that and look lower that. It's your decision. But both are gonna be funded. I think that one's gonna be a little bit less than the.
Unless we decide that.
Yeah,
Yes,
let's
we
get
just-
that.
we
Yeah,
just
let's
like
get that.
no.
So the whole process starts with. I mean,
Okay.
if I remember
Yeah.
right, you can send him budget suggestions, just like the department heads are. The mayor, he's gonna build up his budget. We'll get proposal, we'll be presented with it, we all get to review it, talk about it, and we can all make whatever changes we want to.
So good at finances.
Don't.
But she's probably gonna talk about that right now.
Yeah. All right, so. My I just want to run through and. Budget 101, just a brief overview of budgeting and government setting. And then 2, we're just gonna go high level over year-to-date revenues in the general fund and the other funds, and then what we expect. So, if you have any questions, stop me and ask me. So the mission of the city is to provide essential public services and infrastructure to keep young, desirable place to live, work, and learn. And then safe, healthy, happy home for all, with safe neighborhoods and schools, sustainable, cost-effective public infrastructure, diverse economy, vibrant public places, and the best economy. So was adapted from a friend of mine that worked for a different city, and so I just kind of adapted it to the city of Young. So why budgets are like bridge painting. Takes a lot of skill and discipline, balancing. It takes teamwork. When I say teamwork, I mean teamwork from the departments to city administration to council to the mayor. It takes all of us participating in the teamwork environment. We can always use more resources. No city ever said, "Oh, we can." We're good. I've never heard. You know, for every dollar, we have 10 different ideas on what to do with it, how to spend it. And, you know, this is a public study, we're being transparent and want to put forth the best budget that we can with the resources that we have. I think everybody has the same goal, you know, we want to do the best job that we can. With the resources. So just when we get done with this budget process, it feels like we started all again. Budget terminology. So when we say appropriation, what we're saying is those are our expenditures, those are our expenses. That's what we mean when we say appropriation. So with our revenues, we have projected revenues or estimated, but we don't appropriate revenues. We say, this is how much we think we're gonna bring in, we're estimating how much we think we're gonna bring in. A lot of times with, like revenues that we might collect from the state shared revenues, they will give us, an amount that they think we will receive. So they'll say, okay, take your population times, you know, this amount, multiply that, and that's how much they think we're going to get in criminal justice. So I'm not just coming up with numbers, I'm getting information from the state, from the county, sometimes the federal government, giving us guidance on, here's about what we will receive the next year's part. As you know, we pass our budget, and then if we want to change it, we have to pass the budget amendment. We can't just, at the management or department level, we can't just change the budget, right? It has to be something that's passed by city council. And those are our ordinances. So we do our original budget ordinance, and then if we want to change those numbers, then we bring a budget amendment to you. It's revised budget amendment. And then when it comes to expenditures, we have two categories. I say expenditures, appropriations. We have operating expenditures and we have capital. So operating expenditures, those are our salaries, our benefits, our supplies, our everyday services that we might use, such as landscaping services. And then things like insurance, like the insurance to insure our buildings, things like that. Those are all operating expenditures. Those are things that just keep us going. They're ongoing expenses, what we use to do our business. And then we have capital, which mostly comes from Cody, but capital is our big projects, like capitals are water reclamation facility, that upgrade, that's a big capital. When we purchase a new vehicle, that's a capital purchase. So in my mind, anything that's a one-time purchase that's over $5,000 in my head is capital. And I want council to know what we're spending that one-time money on, what those capital purchases are, as well as that. So those are kind of some of the terminology. Any questions on that? So in my mind, the budget is one of the most important documents in government, right? It's our roadmap. It tells us what we're going to do in the next 2 years. What projects are we going to do? What is our staffing level? What kind of benefits will we be providing to our employees? So we really, that is the document that really guides all of the work that we do. I'm sure you've heard this before. You don't want to spend one-time money on ongoing expenses. And the best example I have is, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, the state came out or the feds came out and said, we're going to give you money to hire a police officer for 2 years. So they were going to give out grants. So you could hire, I don't remember what that program is called, but anyways, they were saying, okay, we're going to give you money to pay for a police officer for 2 years. That's one-time money. What do you do in year 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on? You've got to come up with that money to cover the expenses of that officer. It's no longer one time. And that's what we mean between one time and ongoing. You know, a capital project usually is a one-time money. So really what you want to do is you want to keep your operating expenditures equal to or less than your operating revenues. So operating revenues, those are the monies that we know we're going to get every year. We're going to get property taxes. We're going to get sales taxes. We're going to get criminal justice funding. Sometimes we liquor profits and excise taxes for a while, those really diminish in the state, but usually we get those every year. ARPA funds, CARES grant, one time, right? So we want to make sure that the operating revenues and the operating expenditures equal. Reserves. The city has a 15% reserve balance requirement in the general fund. One of the things that I want to do is look at our other funds and what do we want those reserves to be? And that's something that we as administration will bring forward in a probably a policy. But maintaining reserves. And then you have to look at what are your highest priority services. You have to provide public safety, you have to provide infrastructure. It's nice to provide parks. It makes for a wonderful community, right? But it's not a necessity. So really have to look at, and fortunately, Young is able to provide many of the required services and the nice things. But when budgets get tight, you really have to look at. And then try not to appropriate outside the process. So we never want to appropriate outside of the budget process unless there's an emergency comes up or something is very time sensitive. And that's where maybe an HVAC goes out and we have to get someone in the next day and it's going to be 30,000. That's where we will communicate to council that, hey, we have this emergency that's come up. When we move forward with repairs, we'll bring it to the next budget amendment process. That's an isolated incident, usually doesn't happen often, but it does.
Stephanie, do we plan for those isolated incidents? Is there like a safety?
So that's why we want reserve, right? So, we do have, like in the equipment rental fund, we have reserves set aside, so if this car gets wrecked. We locate one quickly in Idaho, we can buy it like that, and tell council, hey, we've had an accident, we have to replace the vehicle, located one, can we move on? So yeah, we have reserves in most of the funds, and that's one of the reasons that we really need to have those reserves. So we can move on.
And does the reserve have to come to an amended budget also, or is it? You have the reserve already?
So in the general fund, we have a 15% reserve balance that we try and maintain. Now, that is like cash in the bank. We haven't budgeted to spend that money, right? So if we need to tap into that, yes, we would come to council and say, okay, we need to use some of this, we want to do a budget amendment and have that.
Is that 15% kind of standard for cities in their general budget?
It's pretty standard. It never hurts to have more. I really probably would go less than that because that's going to cover your operating expenditures for a few months, which we've all learned. Crisis happens. Any other questions on this page? Okay. So compliance with the budget is required at the ordinance level, and this is just a snapshot from the last budget amendment. So what we are budgeting actually are these expenditures. We're saying that the general fund for the year 2022 total expenditures, they will not exceed this amount of 10 million. So if we need to increase that total, we would need to come to council. Now, within the city, we break that 10.4 million into departments. So what we strive to do is we strive to keep within our department budget, right? So I have a budget for the finance department and I stay within that budget. Police has a budget, so we're at the department level, but with the ordinance, we pass it fund level. And like I said, we need appropriation authority, we need expenditure authority, to spend money, right? This is city government. And the budget has to be balanced. Or you got three options, if it's not balanced. Decrease expenditures, you increase revenue, or reduce fund balance. And your fund balance is more like your savings, and that's where you really want to be thoughtful when you use fund balance. It's okay to use it, but you don't want to, you know, if you have a capital purchase and you want to use some fund balance, it's one thing, but you don't want to rely on savings for everyday operating expenditures, right? Because you can draw down that. That's just my opinion. So the budget process, we want to receive input from the community. We want to identify what services we want to provide to the public. We're estimating our expenditures. We're looking at revenue to support the costs that we have. Great example of that is the water reclamation facility. You know, we're looking at the cost, and then we also have to know how we're going to pay for it, right? We don't want to start that project until we know how to pay for it. So when new expenditures come up, we want to know what is the funding source that's going to cover those. And revenues, do revenues equal expenditures? We just keep tweaking it and working on it until.
Any question?
Yes.
Funds are copyright, so don't just do it.
Good question. Not my fault.
It's just very strange, that's all.
Like I said, I didn't. tweak. So in the departments, our role, we identify expenditures related to proposed services. So I identify what expenditures are needed in the finance department. Finance department pays for the state auditors, right? So I have to budget that in my department. Finance department also pays for the banking and for investment. So those are the things that I have. You know, public services, Cody has several different areas in public services. You know, what are the different expenditures in each of those sectors? What are the, you know, what expenditures in water? There's chemicals involved and all of that sort of thing. Right? And then we need to tell, we need to come forward and tell you, what are we working on? What did we do this year? What are we doing next year? And year after that. And then we just make adjustments. So what's my role? So my role in the finance department is we are best to project revenues. Like I said, I get input from state agencies, local agencies, federal, and I'm trying to estimate and project the revenues to bring forward from their budget. I also work with human resources and we try and come up with, okay, what are our salary costs for the next year? What are our benefit costs? We're still waiting for, is AWC going to increase medical rates? They're going to increase dental rates. We're going to pay more for L&I and unemployment. That's all information that I am gathering right now to put together. I'm also responsible for all of our different debt services. So we have, you know, bond payments, loan payments, and I'll pull all that information. So I put all of that together and try and balance the budget. And that's what we want to bring to you. We want to bring to you a balanced budget. And general fund gets the most attention. It's just the way that.
Kind of going off that too, when you see we bring a balanced budget to the council. We do put a little wiggle room for, you know, if council wants to throw in whatever, but we're hoping that this is, you know, the budget, we put in incorporate requests at the committee levels we've had. So we can have a whole budget to present you at that time, not just, okay, here's part of it, you guys finish it off. we're trying to present you a completed budget that you can, either pass or deny or whatever, but, hopefully, move forward with that budget, just tweak it a little bit.
I've never seen where a preliminary budget hasn't been adjusted by council, because that's, council is going to pass this budget, and we expect there to be discussion and tweaking and adding. And that's, so I tell people, it's very fluid, right? We're working on estimates and projections, and we'll be working on it all the way up to adoption. And that's just how it works. Any other questions on the budget?
I know we have debt service for really large things, but is it typical that cities like own their own buildings outright? I mean, we don't debt the real estate at all, right?
Well,
So that's,
so, typically, government entities, I mean, you have to purchase land and you have to build buildings, so usually they will take out some kind of debt service to purchase land or build buildings, but then, pay it off.
I just, yeah,
But we don't have the cash, we don't have the cash to do the upgrade to the water. facility, reclamation
Right.
facility. I just want sewer.
You're doing great.
So, I mean, yeah, it is how governments do require that. Now, sometimes, we'll get buildings or land donated to us. Right? Burlington Northern, great example, they donated acres and acres to certain cities where there were tracks running through those cities they didn't need it anymore. Enumclaw received several pieces of land and rebuilt.
but typically you wouldn't try to, leverage your money by getting something and using that money for something else. They don't play that game and just, if you have the cash to buy a building or pay off a building, that's what we've done, right?
Right.
Just wondered if that was typical. I mean, I think it's great. I just wondered.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll cover it later on, but having worked at federal level, working in budgets, there's always been the user lose. With the city, is there that kind of, is that something that's used, or is that a, budget that's close as possible, and if there's leftover because you didn't have to provide, you didn't have to do certain training, you didn't, certain costs didn't happen to occur, somebody actually left over, does it move forward easily, or is it a user lose situation?
I don't operate on the use and lose. I don't like that mentality. If I don't use all of my finance budget, what I don't use goes into reserves, and we can budget it again the next year. Some years, maybe I have more time to go to training than others. I budget for training, but I don't have the mentality that, I better use every dime or I'm not getting next year. I've only been here about a year, but I don't pick up that that's the attitude of other departments, so. Maybe. He's out of control. Just, but no, that's not what I see.
Thank you.
I was just because a lot of. We have a mortgage on the city hall, or was that paid out?
What's the question?
It's paid in
Is
cash.
there a mortgage on the new city hall, or would we buy that out?
We don't have debt, we have debt
No,
service on the city hall.
Paid in cash. That's why I asked. It's not a typical thing that you would do.
We did a debt on this.
This is
Just off of that, I'm glad we don't do the use and lose and stuff, honestly, especially federal level, I feel like that ends up where there's a lot of money spent.
yeah, so this is still, there's still a bond out on this, yeah, so we're almost done with paying this off. I think we're gonna try to escalate some of the money, payments to get down a little bit faster.
And so
Yeah.
we don't owe on the library, on the condo, or the old city hall either.
We do own the library,
You have a debt.
or excuse me, it is also through the bond, but I'm not sure, I think it was connected with the community center as well. Those two on the same bond, so I'm not sure on the details of that one.
There's yearly fees on the condo.
Yeah, do you know when it's, when the bill?
Quite a while, just because we find.
Yeah.
The community center law.
Yeah.
At least another 10 years, maybe,
Yeah.
2035, maybe.
I can send out all the debt. Oh, tomorrow. I can send out
That'd be great. Thank you, sir.
Table.
All right, so. We're in a recession, all indicators indicate that's getting worse. As the only business owner that survived the crash of 2008 year, are we keeping that in mind with the coming budget, that numbers could get pretty bleak in the future? I mean, it's, you know, we're guessing, it's a guessing game,
Yeah.
but that's the indicators are pointing towards that. Are we keeping that in mind with the upcoming budget?
So we're fairly conservative in our revenue projection. I can tell you that. We're not having new programs or, you know, anything like that. We are maintaining core services. I think there are some requests for some staffing, not necessarily the general fund. But I do feel like we do take a conservative approach. We do have healthy reserves. Council can always decide to increase reserves if they wanted to.
We're also looking at how many houses are in pipeline we built, like if we're planning, how many houses are lined up basically. So we can estimate future revenue that way as well. So there's a lot of things we're taking into account. But yeah, Stephanie's right. We're gonna have a healthy reserve balance for it. So taking that consideration. Absolutely.
And this is just because it's something I learned recently, and I think it's something that we need to educate about again. Last year, there was a discussion about the way the term was, that it was raising the percentage of collection. But that's not what was actually being discussed. It was, I talked to you before about it, I can't remember, it was at the end of the year, there was the discussion, it's not us increasing the property tax to the people, it's the county has that funding and has said that this is available for us to take. We don't take it. It then gets into a pot for fire districts and various other things. I'm trying to remember the term that was used, that's actually supposed to be called. But the way it was presented was a property tax increase.
So we did
1%.
not take the 1% increase
Right.
last year, and we're not planning to build that into the budget.
No, it's not that we're planning to build in, but I think we need to make sure that we get a clear understanding of what that is. It's not us increasing property tax by 1%. It's
The tax ad valorem tax.
it's
I believe.
the ad valorem tax,
Yeah.
that it's us accepting what the county is offering to us. That we should be accepting.
So yeah, we can either take the 1% or we don't have to. We're not in our proposed budget, the preliminary budget, we're not going to take that. Council can choose to go ahead and take it if they want, but we're assuming that we're not, so.
So here's my, and I don't want to digress too much on the property tax because we'll do that at a shop, but. So basically, fire district, the library, and the city all have to live under $3.60, right? So if fire is maxed at $1.50 and the library is at 50 cents, that means we have a max of $1.60. We are well below that. But say we're at $1.40. And the max that we can do is get to is $1.60. That extra 20 cents, your citizens of the city of Young are not going to pay that to a different district. Their money is going to stay here. Right?
Right.
But you have to understand that your property tax is like 12 something per thousand. We get a very tiny sliver of that. So a majority of it goes to public schools, the state, the county. What they do with their shares, I don't know. I'm not privy to that, you know, it goes to state schools. I don't know how they divide it up. But I do know the city portion that we levy just goes here, and just because we levy less than our max, doesn't mean that your taxpayers are going to be paying more to 9
No, it's not that's going to tonight, it's going to one of the other, like either the library or somewhere else, gets divvied up to them. Because that ad valorem, it's not us raising property tax on people, it's already coming in. If we don't accept that money, it's free money that was given to us in a sense.
But not necessarily.
No,
We,
okay,
we can have a bigger discussion on it, but
I really would like to, because I'm hearing two different sides in reference to this. I'm hearing that it's us raising property tax, and I'm hearing, nope, that property tax is already raised. And that if you don't accept that 1%, it goes to either state, county, libraries, fire district.
I don't know where you got the information.
But we do have, we will discuss 100%, because the council will be approached on whether or not they want to raise that or not. And we will have a full discussion on that.
No, and I just think it's important to have that understanding, because it's, I've heard from somebody else that
Get it.
wasn't a vote to
Yeah.
raise property taxes, it was a vote to
yeah.
accept what was being offered.
Yeah, I've had the same conversations, multiple finance directors and all that, yeah. We'll get into it.
I know we don't want to go too deep into that, but every conversation that I had previous finance, city administrators, what that is. So like she said, we're at like 140 right now, we could be up to 160. But correct me if I'm wrong, there's state law, RCW, we can't do that big of an increase in one. That would have to go to a vote to everyone. But what we can do is legally is once a year increase our part of that by 1% of our part.
Basically,
Something like that.
It's more than that. It's a lot, but Stephanie can explain it a lot better, but not right.
Yeah.
No,
we can
yeah,
get
yeah.
into
That's
that.
kind of important. because
Yeah,
it's-
absolutely.
That's just come up.
Part of-
Yeah, it's
A
important.
bigger part of our.
I agree.
All right, any other questions related to that? Okay, so I just want to get into an overview of revenues, general fund, different categories of revenues, property tax. You can see the red is sales tax, large portion, utility taxes, 13% is taxes. So these are all different categories of the general fund revenue. So property tax, as you can see, our levy this year was 1.57 billion. And I don't have the new assessed value from the Thurston County Assessor's Office, so I don't know. Even if we just keep our.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not
way up.
bad. So I could plug in the same amount next year until we have those.
We don't have the official numbers yet.
About 30%.
So the sales tax has been growing, it looks like we're gonna get about 2.5 million this year, and we're looking at about 2.75 next year. We have heard, with residential growth, we bring more people into the community, spending more money. We also have some commercial businesses in the pipeline that want to come into Yelm, so we do think that that's a tax.
And that's a part that I was.
Yeah, I know, that's.
Yeah.
Utility taxes, tax, criminal justice taxes. Those are all, taxes, we really put a focus on, reporting. And those have been growing as businesses. It amazes me how many businesses open up every month. And it's not just brick and mortar businesses, it can be people working on their homes or services that come into Yelm to do business and have to report themselves in town. So I feel like the operating revenues are pretty low. And then we have other revenues, license and permits, you have grants, which is your governmental charges for services, fines and penalties, and those category. I want to draw your attention to 2022, see how this is huge. $877,000, that's building permits. That is not something that is easy to predict because we don't know how many permits we're going to get next year, right? So we, as you can see for 2023, drop back down because we just don't know. We can play around with those numbers as we get closer to adopting a budget. We might be able to combine more, depending on who comes in with full permits, but you know, it's a big question mark for your budgeting.
So it's in the same category as fines and penalties?
License and permits.
Okay.
Kind of this $877 per year. Fines and penalties is this tiny little section here, 35,000.
Oh, okay.
Those are coming from your court
Oh,
customer. Intergovernmental, the purple, those are grants. We're not gonna get a big park grant next year, that I know of. We don't really have maybe some RCO money next year. But that's just grants go up and down
One-time money.
one time. And really your permits, you know, if you get a big commercial, like you get a big apartment complex, big, you know, possible revitalization, you can get a big permit, right? But then it won't have that next year. It's a guessing game. And then these are all the other funds, just what we think they're going to bring in year-end estimate and what we're looking at for 2023. I do know if you drop down here to sewer reuse improvements fund 413. That is the big project that Cody's working on, and we're not sure how the revenue is going to fall. We did recently learn that there will be more revenue in 2023 and 2024, which is the loan that we will draw down with that. So that'll change. But in my opinion, all the other funds are looking pretty healthy. Real estate excise tax, healthy because that's tied to residential construction, and that's going great. So we're getting a lot of that REIT money in that can be used for matching grants. And that's the Killian LAD fund. That is something that we will close in 2023 and we'll transfer the balance of that back to the general fund. And then we have a water debt service that we can close, fund 406, that will close back into the water fund. So that's about the end of my revenue discussion. We hope to have a preliminary budget for you on September 27th. Like I said, we are still waiting on third parties to get us quite a bit of information. So the better estimates we can bring forward, better will all be. So we're just waiting. October 4th, the departments are going to give you their presentations on their budgets. Have some discussion on what they've been working on this year and the next few years. October 11th, we'll have 2 public hearings, one will be on property tax, and one will be on the budget as required. November 8th, we may have more discussions.
Yeah, the first Tuesday,
Scratch out.
yeah, or excuse me, the second, was that the first? Yeah, November, no, it's second. Second, it's election day, it's canceled.
That's okay. November 22nd, we'll have our second for the second public hearings on the tax and then preliminary budget. Possibly if we're ready, we can adopt final 2023 for budget on November 22nd. If not, oh, sorry. Anyways, end of November, we're hoping to adopt. If not, we can go into December. We have to have it adopted by the end of December, but
Yeah, we're trying to do on a quicker pace than we have in the past. It gives the council a little room, wiggle room if they want to make more adjustments or not. But yeah, we're trying to hopefully end it by November, the end of November. I mean, you can use taxpayer dollars you want.
Well, we appreciate you more, Stephanie.
all right, any questions on budget? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
There's no name.
Two-man job. Two-man job. That's it, you know, but we're happy to see you here. Always a pleasure to see Kat.
Despite what your agenda says about a sewer rate discussion, this is not a sewer rate discussion. Didn't mean to scare you. I have two contracts coming to you next Tuesday night. They're pretty big contracts, so I just wanted to talk about that briefly so that you knew what was coming your way. The first contract is for the construction of our water reclamation facility phase 2. And it's a big one, it's like for $33 million. This has been coming, there's been some discussion. I know I talked to the Public Services Committee about this in detail. I have given you a copy of the bid tabulation. The bids that we received for this last week or the week before last. Interesting that the bids came in very, very tight, very close, as you can tell. Unfortunately, they came in somewhat higher than we had hoped, but considering the bidding atmosphere, the rapidly rising construction costs, I'm pretty pleased with what we received. There will be a contract coming to you next Tuesday evening, the Stellar J Construction. They're out of Woodland, and we've met with them a couple of times. Right now, I'm in the process of gathering insurance, bonds, paperwork, issuing pre-award notices, pre-construction notices. There's a lot of submittals that's going to be happening over the next couple of months. Actual construction outside, actual shovels in the ground, probably will not, you won't see much happening until maybe December, into November, first part of December. There's a lot of submittals that have to go on, contractors submits documents, pumps, parks, and things that need to be reviewed and approved by the engineer before they be purchased. The other contract coming to you related to that is actually an amendment to an existing contract, and that is for the engineer on this same project to do my construction management services. In that case, they handle all the reviews of all of the submittals, construction, contract coordination, pay requests, process change orders. They do all the on-site inspection, making sure that what was designed gets built the way it was designed. And I am including with that contract amendment next Tuesday, their scope of work, a very detailed list of everything that we're going to be asked to do. That contract amendment itself is about $4 million. One thing I wanted to emphasize, I'm going to let Cody talk about this a little bit, the financial part of it, is that this project is broken into two pieces. There's what we call the liquid stream side of it, and we call the solid stream. The liquid stream processes all the liquids, and we produce Class A reclaimed water, as you know. The solids portion of it is processed into the Class A biosolids. And the reason we're separating this is due to the funding. Yeah, we've got, as you know, a loan with the Department of Ecology for our liquid stream portion of that. And we also have a grant that we received from the Department of Commerce for the BioDryer. So the funding, because of that, we need to split the project in what we call Schedule A, the liquid stream, and Schedule B, the solid stream. So we need to keep track of accounting before it's settled. So the same thing with the construction amendment that you're going to get next Tuesday night from Parametrics, our engineer. You'll see that split into two separate amendments. The liquid stream. I just want to know if you have any questions about the contract end of it, or if you have any questions about the technical side.
James.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So we're looking at a total of 60. Is that what this is telling me? No.
At the bottom, the very bottom line there, you'll see on that. Did everybody get
The total bid.
the first column there, that's labeled.
Okay, now it's,
Add the top part, which is Schedule A, to the bottom part, which is Schedule B, and opposed to 32. And
the other question I have, real quick. How local are costs?
look, they're in their region, they're in our general area, so Stellar J is down in Woodland. These are large, this is a large project, so we really have to go.
Are they at least in state, basically?
Oh, yeah, they're all in the state, they're all within.
Okay.
So I see with that, and you said Stellar J Corp is the one that's gonna be presented to us next. The only difference I see between the four is on item number 3B, 4B, and 5B on the description of the item for the solid handling. It's a dramatic change with the procurement of solids being Stellar J having 300,000 and the other companies were in the millions. And then on item 4B as well, the phase 2 upgrades, that's a dramatic change with Stellar J compared to the others. And then the last one about trench evacuation safety, I don't know if it's not about safety, I don't know what that means. But could you explain the differences between 3B, 4B, and 5B?
Yes.
And why we're going with Stellar J and not the other three?
Yes, because there are some equipment items, some large equipment items, namely, part of the bio dryer, part of the centrifuge, and part of large equipment items, they included in item 4B rather than 3B. So if you combine 3B and 4B for each of those four contractors,
Pretty simple.
they're very similar. We asked them about that because we wanted to make sure
Right.
they were comfortable with it. And
When you see the base number pretty close, but then you see things flip
Yes.
flop, I'm like, what's this about?
yes, if you look at the description there, in 3B is procurement of the solid septic handling equipment.
Yeah.
And 4B is supposed to be all items other than items. They included it in, we presented it the same way that they put it on their form.
Right.
I didn't want, for transparency's sake, I wanted to tabulate the bids the way they
Yeah.
were submitted.
Well, that's better. It's just a little mysterious.
No, then your question on 5B, trench excavation systems, there is some trench excavating required, it needs to be separated out for safety reasons. L&I needs to know the safety precautions have been taking place.
We got the minimal one there.
And there's not a lot of deep excavation going on this particular project. Our electrical mechanical building is about a half story below grade. So there's not a lot on this, you can tell.
That's referring to shoring, right?
Shoring is holding up.
So they're charging for the plywood, the wood and stuff.
They're required to do it.
Okay.
So those two contracts will be coming next Tuesday. Any questions?
Mine's just a comment for everybody else, that I found interesting when we went through the tech committee. We are paying the Washington State just shy of $2 million to let us build this in sales tax. I thought that was very fascinating. That we have paid state of Washington almost $2 million just so we could build this facility. No, our portion is beyond that $2 million. I'm saying that, because Washington State, 5 minus that out.
If you have any questions on how we're gonna pay for these contracts.
It's a one-time money thing.
Now.
This is, Cody Brecker Hall, the biggest project the city of Yale's ever done.
Yes, it is.
Historic. The biggest one. So before you, I could give you a little revenue sewer forecast on here. And I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, but I just wanted to clarify. The sewer fund, when we knew the project was coming up in about 2019, 2020, we started catching back everything. So as you can see on this thing, that black line is our actual revenue. And then the other lines going up to that is our actual expenditures.
So since 2020, we cut back and started saving money to get ready for this project, right? And we've been doing that. You can see the revenue increases dramatically in 2020, 23 because of the growth we have. So the idea behind this is that saving of money, conservation, bringing in a new finance director, going through these numbers, crunching these things over and over and over. We'll have enough money to pay for this project without council having to take action on rates. Meaning that council will not have to raise rates. There will be no councilmatic action at rates. As you know, water rates, we locked in a low rate last year. And that rate is stuck. It'll be that rate until council revisits that, and we'll do that. And we did that this budget cycle. We didn't see a need to increase water rates this time. We'll do it again the next budget cycle. Things to think about though, is that the price of everything is going up, right? The good news is our guys are very diligent and very good at their job, so they're able to lower costs internally, pay for those things. But as prices and inflation go up, inevitably there might have to be a price increase at some point. We don't see the price increase needed or a rate increase needed at this cycle in fact. So we will be able to keep, while other municipalities around the US and Washington especially are raising all their water rates, sewer rates, we can keep ours the same for now, but it's just something to be aware of. The other thing is that we're gonna be very, very tight in the next 2 years in the sewer fund, 23, 24 especially, because we have these projects to pay for, we're paying for the salt out of pocket. And there's a very small margin of error. And the reason for that is, finance director and I were very conservative with our growth estimates. So we, like Councilmember Crossman said, we shot for a 2.5% growth estimate versus like the 6 to 7 growth we're seeing, because we didn't want to overshoot and have a recession where we don't sell any homes and we're like, try what we do. So we shot for a really low growth estimate. We've even seen, triple what our estimates were this year, but we just want to keep those numbers really conservative. We're still able to pay for this without having to raise rates. So we are being really conservative. We probably will be fine, but we don't want the assumption that we're just, shooting for 20% growth and that's why we have money to spend. No, we are really conservative with our estimates. We still won't have to raise rates. Yes.
So from the look of this line, the revenue,
Yeah.
you're saying we're gonna be on track to afford and not be like, pay for it later then.
Yeah, so what'll happen is if you look at this line in 2026, it's not on here, is the first year we make our loan payment. So the loan payment will roughly be about $1.5 million. And if you look at that gap, it's about a $1.5 million gap. So with everything the way it is, and this is really conservative estimates, we will be able to pay for the loan, new construction, everything without having a rate increase. Yes.
Also, there's the additional revenue that'll be coming in with the bio dryer solids thing, how that's set up. We're saving money by not having to pay a company to take our sludge and do something with it. We'll be able to use it ourselves and sell it. Is that correct?
Correct. So I didn't even account for bio dryer revenue because it's not a guarantee. A lot of cities give away for free, some charge for it, but if that's more revenue, great, that makes that margin a lot bigger. Right. The other thing we do account for, you'll notice that expenditures don't go up quite as fast, is because we got our septage truck. We've been using that. We're gonna see our costs next year probably pay for itself. This year alone, we've already saved $20,000 in the 1 month we've had the truck and paying for trucks to go haul septic. So in 1 month, we've gotten 20,000 back from the septic truck. So over the course of the next year and a half, we're gonna easily pay for that truck. And that'll be then savings that we are not experiencing now.
Do you think that if we had never lowered our rates a few years ago, or whenever we did it, we would have been ahead of the game looking forward into this line? Would it have been better to just keep it steady all along? We could have gone for longer into the future. We'd have more money.
So you said lowered our rates?
Yeah,
No,
when-
if we didn't do that, we just kept them.
Oh, and yeah, so this is sewer, our water rates, our water rates, because we had the growth, we were able to lock in water rates. Our sewer rates we never lowered. They've been kind of slowly growing, and sewer rates are the one way they'll continue to go with inflation. So they go up a little bit every year based on inflation. That was built into them, and that's the reason why we're going to be okay. If sewer rates, like our water rates are completely locked in, they will not change unless the council takes an action on it. Our stormwater rates are completely locked in, they will not change until the council takes an action on it. Sewer rates automatically adjust every year based on inflation. So if inflation's 5%, sewer rates go up 5%. Inflation is -2%, sewer rates go down -2%. So they go based on inflation. So as you know, this year is pretty high inflation rates. Sewer rate specifically will go up just a little bit, but nowhere near what other municipalities are doing based on just the costs they're having for the rates. So, yes, Councilmember Hess.
And, earlier this year, you briefed us on that we were going to get away from the septic system going to the grinders. Is that going to also help with our costs of keeping sewer rates down because it allows more solid come into play for the final product?
Yeah, so there's two things. If you remember, we did have a discussion about grinder pumps. Once we have a headworks online, which this sewer plant will bring, headworks is a filtration system. Keep it really simple. We can put grinder pumps in. Grinder pumps are owned by the homeowner versus the city. So if someone would have a grinder pump, they'd have a small little grinder pump in their yard, small lid. They would own it. It would macerate everything. It would just, grind everything up and it goes to the plant, which gives the plant the food it needs to process correctly without chemicals. So it saves the city money because we don't have to maintain those tanks. And it saves the city money on the back end. You don't have to buy chemicals to artificially feed the bugs. So I hope I got that right.
We can start putting those grinder pumps online, so we have a headworks.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that that was something that can be a savings for the city because no longer is the current system will still be maintained by the city at no cost to the homeowner. But the new ones would be the homeowner.
Yeah, and that will include a lower rate. So the grinder pumps will have a lower rate because the city's not maintaining your pump. Right? And they'll have a warranty and stuff, so you don't have to worry about that. So some people, it'd be funny to see because there are some people that are very adamant that they pay too much in fees. And then when they have a grinder pump that they have to maintain and they destroy it, right now, people can flush whatever they want, destroy their tank, we fix it. Right? Not that a lot of people do that. There are some people that are like, I'm gonna flush every baby wipe and toy down the toilet I can find. This is great. Come on, city, fix it. And we go and fix it. When they have a grinder pump and they destroy their own pump, then they have to pay for it. And that's like, oh, what do I have to fix it? It'll be interesting to see that kind of connection and how it'll happen. And what we'll slowly do is as step tanks fail throughout the city, we'll convert them to grinder pumps.
So all this is for future low rates.
Yes, that's all of our plan is, so our kids don't have to pay as high the sewer rate as we have to pay them.
That's
all
all
we
we
want.
want. This is the general, so we're gonna spend some money. Lower some rate.
Yes. That's,
Should have said that in the beginning.
that's what we're doing. Yeah, in the end, you will be happy with your rates. And no one will ever be happy.
It's chapter, we're not gonna have to raise rates to pay for 30 million plus project.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, things will be really tight, but I guys will do a really good job on it. I have no doubt with our finance director here to figure it out.
Found some.
So when things go awry in 2 years, contact her and I'll be.
He put his also talk about how he made very conservative estimates, and growth projections. I'm a little more excited about higher growth because I think we will still be able to lower rates here, not this cycle, obviously, but next budget cycle. So Cody's trying to push me away from that, but I think it's still really possible, and especially with business growth as well, and new businesses and all that. But anyway, that's for the future.
Yeah, any questions about rates and the kind of sewer where we're going with this function? Okay, the one thing to do keep in mind, and I know we say this over and over, is your water bill, if water bill includes water, sewer, and storm, right? The water part of your bill is about $30 to $40, which is pretty dang low comparatively to cities around us. Your sewer part of your bills, $80 and your stormwater is $10. So when you combine it all together, that's where you get the 130. Something to remember, it's a combined bill.
Thank you, good.
Very good. What's that?
Thank you, Pat. Thank you.
Yeah, get off, get back to work.
Yeah, we didn't anybody like engineering, we done, for those of you who don't know me, and that's a mission center.
Hold on, Mary, I think he's gonna turn off. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Speak a little louder.
Right? So tonight I'm gonna talk about annexation. The city was reached by the property owners, like 6 properties to annex in the city. And okay, we have the map up here. You can see the one that they have the red line around them, parcel. I'm gonna go over them, one by one, if you have any questions, let me know. The first one is, the property at 9819 Grove Road Southeast. And that property is, almost like 12.5 acres. And it's pre-zoned as, moderate density residential on 6. Thank you, Cody.
That right in Kansas. Oh, this one.
Yes. Thank you. So, this, as you can see, this property is pre-zoned as, R6. And currently there is like one house on there. And they're planning on, annexing the city. The next one is 10143 Grove Road Southeast. That's the one, thank you. The property is 5 acres and is pre-zoned as one of density residential R6. The next one is 15036 State Route 507. This one is, the property size is 9.71 acres. Thank you. And it's pre-zoned as low density residential. This one is currently vacant. The next one is 16345 Rainbow Road Southeast. That one is, the property size is 3.4 acres and is pre-zoned as moderate density residential R6. And this one is also currently vacant. Next one is parcel 227-304-10000 on Morris Road. So that would be this one. And this one also is currently vacant. The next one is parcel 227-304-10300. That's right next to it. And this property is 10 acres and is pre-zoned as low density residential. This property is also currently vacant. So these are the properties we have. They reached out to us. They want to annex to the city. This is the initial step. Staff did the review. We can service properties if they annex to the city. Water, sewer, police, we have all the resources we need. And also, I just want to remind you that Yale is planning under Growth Management Act. So there was a plan in advance to annex these properties to the city. They were supposed to be part of the city. And they're all in our UGA area. I don't know if you can see, but this gray line here, which shows the UGA area. So they are part of our UGA area, and they were supposed to be annexed to the city at some point when the population grows. And now they requested to annex the city.
So all of these are zoned either R6 or R14?
R6 and R4.
R4, okay, so pre-zone, and that's all residential.
Yes, yes. So they are right now part of the county. So they have their own zoning designation. But if they annex the city, that's gonna be the zone.
And they have put a request to.
Yes,
Okay.
the annex, yes.
Good question. So on like specifically the ones on Grove, if they do develop them, will they be required to put sidewalk on Grove on their section? That
Which
borders
one?
Grove, the two properties on Grove.
So for both of them, I mean, at this point, this is just like they have to annex. After the annexation, it's not like they treat them as like single parcel, because they are single parcel technically, they may not want to like develop as like a full residential subdivision. But if it's just one house, they decide to or something like have one house in there, then they have to bring it up to code. We have regulations for like funding, and they have to do all that, but we're gonna review that when
Oh, these are different.
it gets to the direction. And that applies to all these parts of like if they want to like subdivide, have like 10, 20, 30 units there. We are gonna review it and find problems. And just to make sure that we have enough, like resources, we can handle the traffic that they're gonna generate. But for now, it's just annexation that they're requesting to, annex the city basically.
Looking at the city limits that we have, I'm noticing by growth, there's the one that's an island, and then we have some odd shaped areas that are out there. Are we working on trying to find a way to get those incorporated?
So, which one is mine? Are you talking about the green one? That's a city property.
That's all right.
Right, but
Yeah, so then, under the state law, basically city-owned properties can be an island. It doesn't have to be, touching borders, so they can be an island, but, that doesn't apply to.
I think you're asking basically, are we trying to actively searching to get these people in?
right, are we working?
No. No, if people want to be part of the city, absolutely. What we are trying to do is the pockets, like Longmire, let's say, we don't want that pocket out there. So if we would encourage them to, but by no means are we forcing anybody.
No, I wasn't asking about forcing, I was asking, are we working on trying to encourage them, or are we just passively waiting until somebody says, I want to join?
Yeah, I think maybe helpful, Cody, would you talk
Well, we are
about, the-
waiting right now for them to reach out to us. That was the
Yeah.
first way.
but do you want to talk about the process that we did to reaching out to all the previous annexations, or do you want Miriam?
Yeah, we reached out to them, everybody who, was interested in the past, and because we didn't have other rights, like, they didn't manage. We reached out to all of them, these 6 people were the only ones who, basically submitted their, notice of intention.
Out of how many people did we reach out to?
I'm not sure, like, how many,
It was 12.
12.
12 properties.
but this is the first wave. 26 property. There's gonna be more, yes.
This is allowed because we have water.
Yes.
That's why it's allowed. I always thought it's like when you run out of room, then you can add people, but it's just to do with the water. Thanks. Sorry.
I just wanna like make sure we're having like an honest conversation. If any of these people go 10 acres out there. You're not annexing to just be part of the city and continue living on the 10 acres. They're gonna suffer. That-
Very likely, yeah.
Okay.
Unless they want to be on city council.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a lot of people's goal. Dream, like,
Is there a lot of? Is it really gonna change any dynamic, or are these areas that are pretty much already expected to become that eventually?
Yeah, like Miriam was
I'm
saying,
assuming that these properties are probably investments. And they're
Yeah.
probably sitting on for a
I
couple
won't say all.
decades.
like Miriam said, all those is part of our urban growth area. So we're
Yeah.
anticipating eventually to put that in the city. All these, in that gray area, it's all eventually.
I know quite a few of them. Back here, they have no interest.
Sure. Regardless, it's their property. It's
Yeah.
their property. We as government should be telling them what they should and,
Yeah, absolutely.
Zones and all that, yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna say no to annex, if they wanna annex.
What's so funny, Cody?
Nah, there's some.
Yeah, and then this is gonna benefit the city, because, some of them, I mean, the ones that they already have. On that, they're using like, all the city, I mean, of course, but they're gonna pay taxes. So after the annex, they're gonna have to pay taxes, and that brings us revenue. You're gonna get, some money from the state, for the population, that we're gonna have the annexation, when the population goes and all that, and you're gonna get money from the state. So that's another factor, that's gonna benefit us.
They don't already have sewer, do they? Out there?
So they have their own, septic, and well. But, we are not gonna ask them to, basically extend the water and sewer line right now, they can maintain it. If they want to annex, then we can still have those.
So only with development will they put in.
With the, yes.
Is it an all or nothing situation?
No,
Or can we say we want this one, we don't want?
yeah, okay.
I don't know if you can answer this one, but, so all those blue water pipes that were laid down by Grove, was that part of, now that they have water, now they can annex into that? That was about last summer, or this,
No, it's just.
just regular schedule? Okay, so that has nothing to do with this. Got
No, we're not, we weren't anticipating it for, we're going directly.
Okay. Oh, good, Sam, we forget that.
I just want clarification, in reference to that they get, if they're on septic and well, it's, they can keep that, but as soon as their septic fails or the well fails, they must come on.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's clarified.
And they have to pay for it, so taxpayers don't have to pay for it.
I just want to make sure that there's that clarification.
Right, but, I mean, they know that.
Yeah, this is just for their, this is just for their property. though.
Your septic
But we don't have no development.
$1 million connected to this.
And you know, like. Planning wise, like the other benefit it has, like if they were going to develop this property, let's say they. Decide to have like residential subdivision at like 40 units. Then you're in city limits, we can like make them to follow our guidelines, so that's the benefits. Versus if they're in county, they have to follow their guidelines, but at some point, like they are gonna like have to annex the city because again, they are part of our UJ area. That area is gonna be part of the city. at some point, with the population grows.
And you're not required to max out your density, right?
No, they still have to meet all the regulations now, when they decide to, develop their properties. Like if they're in R6, they have to meet all the regulations like we have for R6 and R4. So. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job.
No. Mayor's report.
I don't really have anything, but I think, she wanted to. or she-
She's not here, she's the administrator.
He's not here.
I think Todd wanted to, his first meeting back, one time, update us on what we're. Didn't you want to update on? I thought you didn't.
I'll hear you.
I don't believe you are.
I mean, obviously, I'm trying to get caught up, with everything that's going on. Obviously, the last 2 months has been a lot going on. So meeting with departments, figuring out where they're at, where they're going, what we're doing, obviously diving into the budget, trying to get caught up on budget. We're going with that, so I'm super excited to be back. Thank you for letting me come back, I would be here. Appreciate that, and, I'll start, with the company, doing the department reports and giving you guys all heads up on what's going on in our departments, but super excited, there's tons of great things happening in the city, and glad I get to be a part of it for the next few years, so. Thank you very much. I'm telling, I'm over 10. That's that. I've been like 42 years, so. I mean, so that's all I have, just because that'd be questions for me. Yeah, just.
All right.
Except this guy.
That's all.
Initiatives, Terry.
I just wanted to ask Cody how it's going with detoxing the wagon wheel area there.
The new one or the?
You elected to pull?
We have 2 wagon wheels, the one with the colorful stuff,
The memorial.
the memorial, yes, and that'll be removed for them.
Such language.
You want to that person.
We don't, so we need to catch the person, so we can say sorry, you know, but.
I think there's stuff on there that.
It was good, I mean, it started
I
off
didn't
with all
even-
this flower type
Yeah.
stuff. It's like pink flowers and it's kind of.
Great flowers. and
Plastic. I mean, great idea. I wish we could thank her and then plant the real. You say next week.
We're trying to give her time to consider herself, we don't know who it is, but we.
She doesn't know that we want it fixed.
It's not up to you.
We need to leave her know.
Yeah.
Leave her know that she's in there.
It's not up to your beautification standards.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on the argument.
Anything else, Terry?
Got you.
Nothing, no, thank you, Brian. Nothing,
Oh, yeah, a couple of things, and why not? It's so fun. Let's see which order to go in. Let's go in what's coming up. So next month, what's coming up, I just want to highlight some of the things that we talked about in committee. And some things that I wasn't sure if it's this meeting, next meeting present. So in regards to the rate fees will be next study session. Does that come to the rate fees suggestion?
Oh, the other fees, yes, that'll be coming to your October.
October study session. So just a heads up, thing that I found, it's very fascinating things you learn in committee. That businesses get to use city park currently without paying fees for that. So there'd be some fees coming up for that. What's that?
They're hidden.
The different,
What are they gonna use?
what's that?
What are they gonna use?
All the vendors, the vendor fairs, events, you wanna call them, where, one person charges vendors to be at the park.
Yeah, isn't that typically that's included in the event permit?
There's no fee for that right now.
Maybe there's no fee for that.
There's no fee.
There's no
So the
fee.
vendors are paying the
For instance,
headers.
barbecue fest is an event. Tell me barbecue
free.
valley doesn't.
Correct. Correct.
There's no permit for the,
And a lot
There
of
is
it's
an
not
event.
just because,
yeah,
just,
typically all of that is included in the event permit.
There's no
But there's
fee.
no,
That permit's like,
you file.
There's no money.
Why would the city put?
that's where.
This is probably not
That's
a
where-
conversation that I would be a part of, but I don't see why the city would ever be
For people,
taking a fee.
for
You're gonna get your
business,
sales tax. You're gonna get your sales tax.
are they paying sales tax? That's the question.
If they're not, that's a separate
Yeah,
issue.
so a business is using the park, for other businesses, profiting off of the city's dime,
The taxpayers.
the taxpayer's dime.
No, I get it, but.
Yeah,
So-
it's that's for next week, it's coming up, so I just wanted to highlight that.
A lot of the reasons for that is the labor costs. It costs money to maintain it, to upkeep it, to have people there, extra people there for different events.
Yeah, it's all part of the event.
There is no.
Yeah, but.
But there's no event.
Okay, event permit, there.
But
I'm
there's-
sorry,
There's no money being
We're not giving any money. There's no permit fees.
So-
There's no.
You're not charging a permit to
Correct.
any of these events?
Correct.
That's what
Okay,
we're
thank you,
doing.
that's correct.
Yes, that's all, that's.
It's, you file paperwork saying, I would like to use the park on Saturday, September 21st. And they go, okay, you have the park for September 21st for your event. No money is given to the city, but the taxpayers are paying to have the park clean, the extra trash bags taken out, the trash collection, as well as going through and making sure that any damage done to the park is repaired. And so we've been doing this for some time without collecting anything on upfront to help take care of those costs. And now we're going, it's going to propose.
Are you collecting them, has the city been collecting those costs from the event organizers?
No,
No.
Then that's a failure.
I just want to get people thinking like, hey.
we'll be discussing this come October. It's going to be presented to us, to be put into a future budget of, this is going to be something we can start doing.
Okay.
We're gonna have this discussion.
Yeah, well, I'm just giving a heads up.
You hit me out fucking left field, brother.
What's your next?
Next thing, so something so press and forum will be coming up in the budget thing as well, is, two things with the city, then I'm gonna press forward, and Cody's gonna present that budget, keeping the city clean. So he's gonna ask for a couple of people to that budget to, which I think is very important, keep our city looking good, so investors will come in and say, yeah, we want to invest here, we want to build this in a nice city. You know, because right now it's the parks people and they kind of stressed keeping everything done. And then as well as I'm pushing for more sidewalks put in from these neighborhoods to get to the core, the city core. Because like from my house, which is on this map right here, was Blue Ace, there's a lot of people live right here. And I keep telling Cody every meeting, every week, every month, that we need a sidewalk. So thousands of people can walk down to the park in a safe manner. So we don't have to worry, you know, really the parking situation. So those are a couple of things that I'm pushing for in the committee meeting this morning. The rest of y'all aware of that, and if you disagree, you can let me know. And then third and final is there anybody who knows somebody? Can we do something about getting in pressing for an urgent care to be built in Young? Ording has an urgent care, and Ording is a smaller city than Yelm is. Slightly, they're close, but they are still slightly smaller. It would be nice, you know, if somebody knows something, if we can press, you know, investors or whoever to put an urgent care in the Yelm. It's a need a lot of people request. It's one that, you know, I see that we need, in my family, an urgent care. Emergency would be nicer, yeah, but at least an urgent care and then an emergency.
I was just gonna say, the process for that is kind of out of our hands. It's the state and then the medical facilities themselves. They have to justify, the reason why Ordon might have one is because of the distance to travel to get to emergent care versus Yelm, the distance to travel. And so that might be one of the reasons why they were able to put one out there to show that there will be justification for spending the money to do that. For Yelm, it'd be nice if we can do that, but we also have to be able to get recognized for that. And again, if I remember correct, I'll try to find information. It's actually from the state that helped run that, along with the not Department of Health, but that runs all the medical facilities. They have to justify because they just can't put a building somewhere and say, okay, this is going to be, if it's not going to be properly used, that's show the justification for it.
I will print out the whole printout of what he's talking about, and what it is, it's not even actually the state. The hospitals decide where hospitals get to go.
But it's not a
It's
hospital.
all hospital.
So
But it's all,
They feed the hospitals.
it's all part of it,
Yeah.
and they're all interconnected, and I forget the exact term of it, but it's a board that's made up from representatives from the hospitals, and the hospitals get to decide where medical facilities are. It's all about money.
There are discussions why, and then with partners to bring out some more medical care area with the student office.
Didn't Seymour used to be a walk-in clinic, and now it's something different. But it was. Because there are private clinics.
You know,
no, not again. I agree. That's.
no.
You sure?
I want to make something up.
Yeah, council member initiatives. I was at Pizza Hut talking to someone and we were talking about our choir teacher. Mr. Skogsberg, Keith Skogsberg, who passed away.
Like, you still think that?
Yeah, no, he passed away, I think it was a year ago, too. It's just COVID kind of messed things up time wise. But she had mentioned, she had said, how come we don't have like a street named after him? And then I thought, wow, that's not a bad idea. And so then I started thinking, well, what's the process to that? And but then I guess my initiative would be, you know, he was such an impactful person in this community and really it left just a wonderful legacy and impact on Young High School and people who perform in the arts and musicians. He's such a wonderful person that I thought maybe we could find a way to get a street named after him.
Yeah, I think we'll be adding him to the list. So,
All right.
yeah, when the streets come up and all the streets, we will,
There's a lot of new construction, so a lot of new.
we'll discuss it with his family first and all that stuff, but yeah.
Yeah.
James.
You said nothing.
Oh.
Nothing.
All right.
Yeah.
Adjourned.
German. Good meeting.
Till like